think people ask me all the time, why didn't y'all stay? Y'all just had a baby. And I think I always flip it. I said, I think she gave us the courage to leave.
Absolutely, she did.
What's up, everyone? It's your girl Fly. Welcome to another episode of Fly Inside Out. I have a very special guest with me today. Someone probably know me a little bit better than most people on this earth. My ex-husband, the father of my daughter, and my friend, Don Bobo, is here with me today. What up, man?
What up, what up, what up?
Yo, this is probably a little unorthodox. Yeah, they don't know about it. We can't finish it because we...
Yeah, we can.
But that's our handshake. We have a handshake. But listen, man, thank you for joining me today.
For sure, for sure.
I'm excited. I think we're going to shock some people with this one.
Yeah, I think so.
For those that do not know us, my name is Cierra Fly Bobo. Thanks to him, that's my last name. And this is Don Bobo. And we were married for a little over 7 years, together 8 years. And we recently divorced. And
Been friends for 10.
Been friends for maybe 11.
11 years.
Yeah, we met in 2011.
Jesus.
So 11 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so, but I invited him on today because we're going to talk about divorce and relationships and lessons that we learned and, you know, our journey a little bit, but more so like our journey going forward. You know, I think a lot of people, you know, are probably shocked about how we engage each other and how we interact, and we didn't go on social media and be like, I can't stand him, he sucks, you know, or you didn't come on there and be like, she the worst lady I ever met in my life. So just kind of starting at that place, you know, do you feel like divorce has to be toxic?
No, I don't think divorce have to be toxic. I think people make things toxic. So the word divorce is divorce. It's the same as how people say guns don't kill people, people kill people. So I think divorce is just a process. I think the way we handle the process makes it toxic. So
yeah. And before we even get into that, I guess we should give people a little background on how we met, things like that. So, you know, for viewers that are kind of being introduced to us for the first time, but you want to tell the story, or you want me to tell the story?
I tell it.
Okay.
I tell it all.
Oh, Lord.
No, we met in a store called Guitar Center. It's where I was working at the time. I was into music, making music, producing music, and setting up studios for people. And you came in with a friend, a male friend, to say it that way. Came in with a male friend. And immediately I was like, oh God, I don't know who this is. So I got to tapping my coworker. I'm like, hey. And he was like, don't do it. I was like, I'm doing it. So anyway, but she came in with a friend, and I tried to alienate y'all to find out if y'all were together or not. You know how dudes are. We trying to figure out if that's your boyfriend or not. Yeah. And so I was like, hey, you know, do you want some equipment for you and your boyfriend? And he was like, this is not my boyfriend. It's like, thank you, Jesus.
Not thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus. But no, so at that moment when we met at Guitar Center, it was pretty much, I had an eye for you from that point on. It was just pure attraction. And I called myself telling you I wanted to make some music for you and produce music for you. And sure, come over and write in the studio. And you would come over and write in the studio, but you would bring your male friend who was your producer at the time.
I didn't know you.
At all. She was like, I don't know you, so I'm gonna bring this guy with me, which is the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. And I was like, leave this guy home. But anyway, it ended up being a long friendship, man. It's been an amazing friendship ever since. And yeah, that's how we met, you know, in the store. I called myself trying to, still haven't made music for you though.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say.
Yeah.
Ask me if I got the beat.
Yeah, it was
11 years later.
it had nothing to do with music.
But you tried. We just never creatively got on that page, and we just ended up playing ball together and
all kinds of other stuff. We
you
just became
introduced me to my acting coach when I was acting, because I was on stage plays at the time.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't know that, because I think the people that got introduced to us as a couple might have thought like, oh, they got together and they started doing the same things. But what was true about us is that
we was doing the same things prior to.
We were doing the same things prior to. Like, my circle may not know that you were producing music. You had already did a clothing line, which was Hoop Kings, and you were Dusty Valentino.
Doing acting, I was doing all kinds of stuff.
I was acting, because you introduced me to my acting coach. Shout out to Navanya, who's a GOAT in Atlanta. I feel like she's a
low key legend, and people don't even know she's like the low key legend.
A lot of people on TV right now were in her classes, but you were doing so much, and then I was doing a lot. I think I talked about that in my last episode. I had wrote books, did 3 musical projects. I was doing stage plays to us getting married. And then I also went to school for fashion. So I had the degree in it, but you had already started getting your feet wet with actually doing it. And so when we came together, we had a lot of synergy around interest. And then we both were basketball players. We got some trophies out here, but I ain't gonna, I had to throw that in a little bit. Some couple trophies. We done won some tournaments and stuff.
couple tournament trophies. We're gonna leave that alone for all the other couples that didn't win.
Shade. So, there was that synergy there. And like you said, we were friends for 3 years prior to even dating.
Right.
You were trying, but, I did at the time, I didn't see it being more than that.
It was bro.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, hey, how you doing? What up, bro? Hey, bro. I'm like, I'm not your bro.
But in my mind, I really, we had no blurred lines.
I got broed up for like 3 years. That was hard.
Yeah. Then one day, I think I think it was me. I think I was like, maybe I need to give this a shot. Maybe I need to try this out. And
I was trying to run, and you was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, really?
I still don't know if you ran game on me, but I don't think you did. I think
that was real. It was probably the most genuine situation.
You want to tell people you can tell the real?
Okay. So I can tell the real, break it all the way down?
Yeah. Just a shorter version.
Oh, okay.
Just a short.
I'm making sure.
Keep it real though.
So I called C up. I was like, now mind y'all, I've been chasing her for years, just telling her, hey, I want you, I want to marry you, I want to be with you, all this other stuff for years. And she was like, no, bro, we good, bro. It was like, bro, all day. I was like, God, dog. So I called up. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done chasing. I was dating someone else. I started dating someone, and I was like, I'm taking this serious because I was ready to settle down. So I was like, I'm taking this person serious. So I called up. I'm like, hey, you ain't got to worry about me, making these attempts anymore. I'm just gonna strictly be bro and be friends. I'm gonna look at you like sis, and we're gonna leave it at that. And so, because I'm gonna take this situation very serious. And it got real quiet on the phone. I was like, what is going on right now? He was like, well, maybe I might have missed out on something good. And I was like, wait, time out. Red flag. I was like, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, and it went from there. It went from telling me basically you felt like you might have been running from me, away from me, and pushing me away, and you shouldn't have. Mm-hmm. And that was the moment I was like, oh, nah, so what we finna do, because I've been trying this for way too long to let this one ride. You ain't gonna say that to me and think I'll be okay with that. So it's like, give me a week. You remember that? Give me 7 days.
Give me a week.
And I needed 7 days to just like cut off ties with other females. Like I had to. I had too much going on prior to, so I took 7 days and I was just letting females know, like, hey, I'm in a situation. Hey, I'm seeing somebody. Hey, I'm on the same thing I did with you. I was doing the same thing prior to.
Yeah.
I was trying to cut ties so I can do it the right way. I think men should do that more. Mm-hmm. I think men should, if you get into a relationship and you get into something real serious and you want to be real serious with this person, I think you need to take the time right at the very beginning to cut ties with anything that you had prior to. I think any female that you might have led on, or you just might have got a girl phone number, a week before. If you got a woman phone number a week before and there's no real reason why you cut ties, man, just stop calling, delete the number, whatever you got to do to cut ties. I think that's healthy. And it allowed me to go right into our situation real fresh, real comfortable and confident that we good.
Yeah, you definitely took a week. I didn't know how to feel. I was like, what's happening?
What's going on? You need a what?
Well, one, I was kind of torn because you did tell me you were kind of talking to someone at the time. So I didn't want to, impede on that either. So I was like, no, I'm not I'm not one of the kind of people that want to break up a happy home or, you know what I mean? I didn't know me saying the comment of like, dang, I probably messed up on something good would have triggered you to be like, well, hold on, let me see if it's good, you know? And so I think for me, it was just about, I gave you that week, and I think I took the time too because I had been single for like 3 years, you know? Once I really stepped into the entrepreneurship thing and was doing my music heavy, I was like, all right, let me be single. I just got out of a serious relationship, and I was just like, let me just focus on the grind. And so it had been a while for me, you know? And so I was thinking too, like, am I sure? And then I also knew you were always talking about marriage. And so it made me nervous because I was like, this might not just be like a boyfriend thing.
Right, he's serious.
I knew you were going to be pretty serious. So fast forward, we started dating. I don't know what's up with us in holidays, but we started dating on Mother's Day, which is in May. We got it. You proposed.
Got engaged on my mother's birthday.
Your mother's birthday, which is in November, same year. And then we were married the next month on Christmas Day.
That was so I'm going to tell that so people don't know. Cierra came in, you came in and was like, now mind you, we was like, oh, we're gonna have a wedding in spring. We're gonna do an outdoor wedding. Remember, we had talked about outdoor wedding. It's gonna be summer and springish. It's gonna be warm. You know, we're gonna do a certain type of wedding. So in my mind, I'm thinking, thank God, because I don't have no money for no wedding. So I'm like, let's push this thing. You know? So it was already in our mind to plan to do this. You come to me, you was like, I was sitting on the end of the bed. I remember that. You came in, you was like, hey, let's get married next month. Let's get married on Christmas Day. And I was like, you mean Christmas Day of next year? Because in my mind, I'm like, Christmas is like next month. I ain't got no money for Christmas. You understand me? So he was like, no. Let's get married on Christmas Day next month. And I was like, what's up? And then you was like, I know Christmas Day has been pretty sad for you guys a little bit. It's pretty rough due to my stepfather passing away on Christmas Day. And that being pretty rough for my mom. And you and my mom were always like really close. Y'all are like, and still to this day, like really close. And so you wanted, and this is exactly how you said, he's like, I'd rather your mom feel like she gained a daughter on this day instead of losing a husband on this day. You wanted her to remember more of that.
I forgot I said that.
I didn't. And that was dope. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. However, we need to figure that out. That's dope. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And it was just me and you and the pastor. Minister Mike, man.
Who did our marriage
at the Ritz-Carlton. You got married that day in Ritz-Carlton. And that was all your idea. Every bit of it was your idea. I thought it was pretty dope, though.
I think it was dope. And I forgot I said that.
No, I didn't. That was crazy. I was like, oh. Wow, okay.
Now
how you say no to that? Like,
because you had already proposed, so I think afterwards I came. Now I got a real question, because we're going to keep it real.
Keep it 100. Let's go.
Now, just a little bit about my background. I grew up in College Park, Georgia. A little edgy.
CP.
Shout out.
Southside.
Shout out, which is a suburb of Metro Atlanta. And so I grew up in an urban environment. You know that growing up, I used to fight, all kind of crazy stuff like that. And then I got gave my life to Christ and as a teenager. And I just took that thing serious. It really transformed my life because I really went from night to day because I was a little off the red.
With a razor blades in your mouth.
I had razors in my mouth, rested, So, but I took my relationship with God really serious because of things I had saw in my community and just my family, everything. I really took it serious. And so I come from like this Christian background of like waiting to have sex to marriage. And so you, on the other hand, that you want to share your background or
ain't nothing to share. I was out there. You feel me? Where's the share?
That wasn't.
But I did not come. I wasn't raised in the church. I wasn't raised in the church environment. I was raised in the projects in the hoods of Greenville, South Carolina. Started out in West Greenville, in the Gate Street area, Nickeltown area. And moved to the Valley, all the District 25 area in the South Side, and
plug, Kevin Garnett is from the district, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was one of those environments where we wasn't raised around church, we wasn't raised around believers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I got an uncle that's a Jehovah's Witness, so it was one of those environments where it was just all about survival.
Yeah.
Survival and find any bit of joy you can in the midst of it. That was really it. Every day you're trying to survive, and in the midst of that, you're trying to figure out how to be happy and find some joy in it. And that's usually what goes on coming up in those environments. You're trying to survive. So for me, the joy was, promiscuous ways. And so I jumped off the porch at a pretty early age, as they say. So.
Yeah. And the only reason I reference our backgrounds is because we waited to have sex until we got married.
Correct.
Do you think we got married quick because of that?
No. I don't.
You don't? I think I did.
You might have did. I didn't.
I think that was the outside of the significance of what Christmas meant. I think that's why I chose that day. But far as the timing on how quick it was, I think I wanted to honor God so much. But then you was fine, and I was like, it's been a long time, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to honor God. And then I remember at the time, I was still living with my family because I was an entrepreneur, so I was staying at home for stability and all that stuff. And so, not wanting to spend the night and honor that and just different things. I just wanted to honor God. And I was like, well, we already get married. Why don't we just get married? Now looking back, I think for me, I don't have a regret for several reasons, but I definitely say I think we got married too fast.
Absolutely.
I think now
we
being
both
on
have said this and talked about that.
Yeah, on the other side, now that we're divorced, I feel like we got married too fast. I think I definitely needed more time to learn you, learn how to communicate effectively. Which was definitely one of our biggest hiccups. And I needed to learn me more. And what I mean by me is I think I came into the marriage with a lot of expectations of what marriage was based off of my upbringing, based off theology. We talk about this all the time. In my family, there's a lot of married couples, some healthy, some unhealthy, that I was exposed to. In your family, not as many married.
When you think about, one as far as aunts and uncles and mother age group. My aunt and uncle are married, but the rest are divorced or separated or single or whatever the case may be. My aunt and uncle is the only one that's been married for over 30 plus years. But I have cousins that got married over the latter years. But as far as any adults as a kid coming up, no, it wasn't no examples of marriage coming up. But other than my aunt and uncle, and that was that was it. And that example was what it was, and you didn't know what to take from that. That was the only person you seen that had a husband, and you don't even really gauge that as a situation because you don't know at this point. You like, is this the only example of marriage? Because 90% of the rest of the people I see are not married. So it's like, what example? I don't even know what marriage is about, what to do. Had no knowledge of how to be a husband at all.
And I think for me, I had a few examples.
Yeah, you did.
I had a few healthy. I had a lot of unhealthy, especially within my own household. And I've been very transparent about that. And shout out to my mom, who's always allowed me to be transparent about that.
She's so dope. Your mom is amazing.
Thank you. So you know how I feel about yours.
That's my dog.
But I saw domestic violence. I saw arguing. I saw calling out names. I heard my mom get called a B. I've seen my mom cuss people out because my mom made no pause.
Your mom plays no games.
So, I've seen domestic violence. I've seen physically fighting. I've seen knives being drawn. I even got arrested at 16 for intervening into an altercation with my mom. So there's things that I've seen. So I had a very low tolerance for conflict. And I think with me coming from a violent background myself before I got saved too, I think what I did was my way of coping with the violence that I endured as a kid. You talking about, and this is just being transparent. I remember as a kid sleeping at night with a knife under my pillow for a very long time in high school because I never knew if a violent situation was going to go down in my house and if I needed to respond, defend, or whatever.
Right.
And this is a true story. I don't think I ever said this publicly, but I slept with a knife under my pillow.
Right.
And so just that fear, that trauma, I think what it did for me is it made me become very apprehensive to conflict. Because now that I have a relationship with God, I know that you can't bust everybody in the head like I used to think. You know what I mean? And so I'm trying to walk in love, right? But at the same time, you know, how do you avoid conflict? And so my best way of doing that was just like avoid it versus facing it and knowing and having tools to navigate through it without it becoming violent. I always equated conflict with violence. Right. And that's where I became very defensive. Because especially when it became with a male, because that was the relational dynamics that I saw. That if a male may come off aggressive, you have to defend yourself. You have to be in this place. And I think in our marriage that showed up, we weren't physically violent towards each other. No. Verbally violent towards each other. Like, you never called me out of my name. You never put your hands on me. You never even attempted to put your hands on me. But I think you're a very passionate person. And sometimes we would have disagreements. I didn't know if you can disagree, be passionate about something, and keep it about the issue. And I will always be triggered to think it was an attack against me. You get what I mean? Because that's all I knew. And so you can debate anything and just leave it at that and go about your day, like, all right, let's go get some chicken. And I'm over here like triggered, wounded, red flags. I'm like going through the gamut and inside and crying. And you're like, why are you crying? We just had a disagreement about some chicken. Like if it should go in the air fryer or the oven. But I am taking it so, because I had never, and I had told you.
That's so true. Chicken in the air fryer.
Yeah.
I swear to God. So true.
You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't prepared to manage conflict in a way without it triggering my childhood trauma because I didn't even know it was still there.
Right, that's real.
You know what I mean? And then on top of that, even in my previous relationships that I had prior to you, and I was in a couple serious relationships as an adult, we never argued. Which set me up for failure. So I'm thinking not argument is a possibility. Right. But you cannot live with somebody. I never lived with them. Right. You can't live with somebody every day, all day. And the way we were together 95%. Right?
Absolutely.
Unless we were at work.
That was it.
Or occasionally without each other. Because normally we hung out with other couples. So we would do trips with other couples. Outings with other couples. So we were together.
Or we just do our own couple.
Yeah, or we out of town or somewhere. Right. So we were together 95% of the time. And it was unrealistic of me to come into the marriage to think arguments were going to be very minimal or non-existent. Right. But that's just how my world was set up based on my trauma, my coping, and my previous relationships. Yeah. And so I wanted to share that because I think a lot of times we come into relationships and we see just the basic surface level compatibility. Like we said, we hoop together. We both have fashion clothing line. Shout out to HSKG. If you don't know about it,
appreciate it.
The website
www.thehskgbrand.com.
Yes, he has on HSKG right now. I'm walking jewelry right now.
Let's talk about that. That's what we need to be talking
about.
Yeah,
thank you.
Jewelry.
But you know, and this happened in the marriage. Jewelry launched actually 2 years ago. And a big part of me launching it was because of you. So I just want to publicly say thank you. Because, of course, this is my childhood dream. I've been wanting to do fashion. I competed in fashion competitions in high school, went to college for it. But when I came out of school, so many other things altered my vision at the time. And I started doing other passions. But you helped bring that passion back out of me. And you really helped me with, because you had already started your line on, all right, see, let's get it going. You got the talent, you got the vision. Here's some of the wisdom you need to get it done. And you helped me not make some of the mistakes that you had already made. And I just want to say thank you for that publicly. Oh, you're welcome. So that was one of the...
Well, I'm super proud of you. So let me say that publicly.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
You're doing your thing.
Thank you. So, but just going back to that, I think sometimes we have these traumas that we don't know Right. And we don't know we have them. Like a lot of things I didn't know I had coming into the relationship, or like I said, I didn't know I was really afraid of conflict more than anything, you know. Right. But with all that being said, you know, I think as the relationship progressed, there were several different things that we don't have to go all into, but we found ourselves being incompatible in some major ways, far as navigating conversations, navigating communication. Then, you know, triggers were triggered, and then now everything is sensitive, and I unfortunately became very unhappy while we were married. Correct. As well as unhealthy. Both. Most importantly. And a lot of that was other things that I talk about in my book that's coming out. You know, I dealt with depression. I got sick.
Yeah. You walked through a lot.
Death, I lost a lot of significant people. You know, you were like, you know, people that you even got to meet and get close to. My grandmothers, 2 of my grandmothers I lost. So, you know, all that stuff was happening in the midst of trying to navigate this space. And then I have this thing where I really wanted to be a good wife. And I think that I always kept feeling like I was falling up short because of all these things that I was taught of how to be a good wife. Yep. Didn't work for you. And so all the stuff that I was taught, like this is like, and I would study this stuff before I got married, even from the Christian perspective, even from just the everyday social perspective. Because women are sometimes groomed to be wives, where y'all are not always groomed to be husbands.
No, rarely. Every now and then you get a guy that was raised in a two-family, you know, mother and father household where the father's actively in that man's life and teaching him about being a father and being a husband and all that stuff. But unfortunately, in our culture, in our day and age, that is not as common as women raising the women to be wives or to be good women in general. So it's been an imbalance in that subject. So.
Yeah, and I think we were given generic things that aren't beneficial to all men. Right. Like they told me, keep a clean house. You know I'm clean. You're very clean, which worked out for us. We were both very clean, so this wasn't something. But you didn't want me to be responsible for cleaning. Right. So that didn't move your needle. Or, you know, cooking. I'm decent. I could cook to eat. You know, I'm not no cook, but you know, I could cook to eat. But you was like, I don't need that. You know, I was used to like fixing plates and bringing you your plate. You like, you ain't gotta do that for me. Right. You know, just all these different things that I was taught to be this domestic, you know, a woman that never rejects you sexually. I've never rejected you sexually. Like any of those things, like I was taught that stuff. Right? Mm-hmm. And then all that stuff wasn't necessarily the things that move your needle. You appreciated it, I think, but it wasn't always.
It's almost like this. Any man would appreciate a woman bringing him his plate. But what was he doing prior to you bringing him his plate? He was getting up and getting his own plate. Yeah. So everyone has, I've learned, even through our marriage, everyone has a, what moves their needle. What is that one, what are the things that this person need, not what the world thinks a man need, right? Learn, I tell this to people all the time, and women in particular, learn you're a man. Do what it takes that your man really wants and not listen to the outside noise. Because a lot of people will tell you, hey, you need to do this for this guy. You need to do this. You don't need to do any of that stuff. You need to do exactly what moves the needle for your man. If your man likes for you to wear lingerie, then wear lingerie.
No, that was another thing.
If your man, like, I'll
come out there in my little outfits. You be like, see what you doing.
But see, the thing is not even about that. So for me, it was always like, I'm telling you, learn, because people don't understand. Every man is different. Yeah. Every man is built off. And then also, too, is built off the things you initially see. If I meet you in the grocery store and you're wearing joggers and a hair wrap, right? And I'm like, man, she's fine, right? That is what he sees, right? Yeah. If I meet you in a nightclub and you dolled all the way up and you all this, that is what he sees. Understands that what he sees initially is what he initially found attractive, right? So what can happen is women become trying to do other and more than what is needed than what moves that man needle. Because it's like, if when y'all first started dating and you never wore lingerie around the house or around him, trying to switch it up later may not do it for him. It doesn't mean it's going to be a bad thing. It's just, you may not get those reactions you want from him. You may, if you walking around and as I call it, peacocking through the house to see if he's looking to get him to, to notice you, and he's not, it's not a bad thing. It's nothing to you personally. It's just, this is not what he's used to. This is not what moves his needle. It's when you put those sweats on and you walk through the house in those sweats. Unfortunately, you're like, well, why would that's what works for him. It's not for anybody to answer that but him. Only he can explain why that works for him.
Yeah.
It's what he's gotten used to seeing you in, and that's what he found attractive about you. But we get stuck in what society tells us that it should be and what it's supposed to be. And it's like, no, it's what he wants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember Pastor Dollar saying it a while back. It was about getting yourself out of the center and focusing on, like in a relationship and in a marriage, I feel like you should focus on being everything you can for that person and taking yourself out that center. Meaning, like, I shouldn't be in a relationship and all I'm focusing on is what this person can do for me. What can I get out of this person? What kind of, having those expectations and things of that nature. What I should be focusing on is all of what I can be for this person and making this person happy. And in return, I should only want to be with a person that thinks the actual same way.
Yeah.
All they can think about is, what can I do for this guy? What can I do to make him happy? And when y'all both are playing that same position, you both are being taken care of, per se, without having to focus on yourself. But I think a lot of people get it mixed up. Is they're going into meeting a guy and it's, what can I get from him? What can he do for me? How can he make me happy? But then also listening to your friends and saying, what can I do to, make him happy? And it's like, you're asking the wrong people. Find out from him. What is it that he needs? What is it that he wants?
I think with us, one of the things we were always in arguments with was, we were working so hard to try to make the other person happy.
Yeah.
Our issue was never just like, take care of me. You know what I'm saying? You always tell me, stop trying so hard, because I was on this mission. But because I was dealing with some childhood trauma being triggered, as well as, I think I was really confident when we got together. But I think because the things I was taught wasn't working, it impacted my confidence.
We talked about that. It did.
It impacted my confidence, and then I started looking for your validation, and that's dangerous.
Extremely dangerous.
I think validation should only come from God.
That's it.
Acceptance should only come from God.
That's it.
So if I'm doing things to get you to say I like it, that makes you happy, because all I really wanted to be was a great wife, and I think when
that's
I started
trying so hard,
coming into play, and you would say, don't try so hard, just be yourself. But I end up losing myself in the pursuit of trying to get your validation.
Expectations. And
I felt rejected, and what I'm saying, it was a lot happening. And now being on the other side of it, where I'm healing, and God is healing and revealing, I'll never put myself in that position again to need validation from anybody, but also just and I think we did have, one thing about us, we had conversations.
We always had the hard conversations.
We had the hard conversations.
We weren't afraid to talk.
We weren't. We had the hard conversations. You would tell me what you like, and I would try to do it. But I think it became more, now it looked like I was trying versus just being confident and relaxing and being who I was. And also knowing that, like, for me, I like lingerie. I should have worn that for me, not for a response for you. Not saying I don't want a response from you, but I'm a sexual creature, and I think the church try to turn down women's sexuality. That's just a part of me.
Because even starting out, you didn't. It was even your confidence in being seen, me seeing you completely naked and revealed, or seeing you in lingerie at the beginning was not, you was very timid. And so that you came out of that. So that's what I got used to. I got used to seeing that. Yeah. And then when you did try to get more comfortable, it was like, it looked abnormal. Yeah. When that's really your normal. Yeah. That's what you really wanted to be your normal. Yeah. The beginning was the abnormal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But when you don't know, you don't know. Yeah. So in my mind, I'm like, what's going on? It's a switch. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, of course, it was a switch.
That makes sense, though.
But then you have to think, if you've been taught your whole life. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with teaching someone to wait to marriage.
Correct.
I'm not saying that at all. But I think that at the time, and I talked about this in another episode, so many people, because I was on public stages and on church stages at that time, I think when we got together, so many people were telling me to tone down my sexy. So that was at that place too, because I already was kind of like, I've always, prior to us getting together, was very in tune with my sexuality,
correct,
my sexy. Mm-hmm. I believe God made women sexual creatures.
Right.
But I also understood the balance of being a good steward over my body, and I wanted to honor God in a way of saving sex to marriage.
Right.
So, but that don't mean I can't be sexy, or I got to be, you know what I'm saying?
Not at all.
And so I think at the time we started dating was when, and I think you saw some of that in the background. You would see me even cry sometimes from people saying, you too sexy, why you dress like that, why? And I think, so then that kind of rolled over into our relationship, because now I'm questioning something that I used to be very confident in.
Mm-hmm. Also understanding that we was talking about, like you just mentioned it, is one of the biggest things is also people's opinion.
Yeah.
How heavy should that weigh on you? You know, that was huge, you know, because the people that were in your circle are huge people in your life, right? They're huge into your life, and a lot of people speak in your life about a lot of things, and just in general. And because of that, though, sometimes you cared a lot about people's opinions.
In the beginning,
and I was a person that was like the complete opposite.
Yeah, you were.
I was one of those people. I never was.
Yeah.
I'm never embarrassed. I'm never easily embarrassed. Like, I just don't care what people think.
Yeah.
I had that my entire life. I've never cared what people thought about me. I didn't care if I disappointed you. I didn't care if I let you down. At the end of the day, I made a decision that I probably got to live with, and it is what it is. Even if it's jumping up in the middle of this restaurant and start dancing with my baby, like, that's what I'm gonna do. And if that's embarrassing to y'all or whoever else, I don't really care, because this is what my moment is for me. You know, if it's a bad decision, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. If it's a great decision, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And I think a lot of people gotta learn to just get comfortable with making their decisions for themselves and not really caring what other people think.
I learned it the hard way. You know that I got very depressed in the middle of our marriage.
Yeah, you walked through it.
And I talked about how, in my book and in other episodes, I talk about how, you know, the pressure of trying to be on these platforms and conform to what I thought the platform needed versus just showing up as my authentic self. Mm-hmm. And I think you met the authentic self as the homie. Yeah. You know,
I did.
I love God. I was a little hood. But I also was a little sexy, and and I was very silly. And I think those attacks on my identity and my validation and my worth and my value by people's words begin to strip away my personality.
Yeah, you went through a huge identity crisis walk, I guess, or whatever the word is.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
You walked through some heavy identity stuff that I've rarely seen most people ever walk through.
Yeah.
And it was real.
And I think the stress of that led to me getting sick. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk about that just a little bit. I got sick in the middle of our marriage. Mm-hmm. Most people didn't know, but I started losing hair. And you were there.
Oh, yeah.
I have a picture. I'm actually going to show it right now, but I have a picture of you shaving my head. And I had a bald head. I was very frail. At first it was very patchy, and I was wearing the fedoras. But one thing I noticed during that time, and I would say, how I noticed that you were there for me, but was it hard for you to be there for me?
No, it wasn't hard for me to be there for you. No, I don't think. I think when you love somebody, right? True love, not just like, oh, just say it, because people throw that word around loosely. But when you truly love somebody, it's never hard to be there for them, especially your significant other. I think for me is critical, because if you walk in this relationship with what do I need to do to make this person happy, and you think of that on a day-to-day basis, all I'm thinking about is how can I make this person happy every day. It shouldn't be hard for you to be there for them, because now it's like, oh, I got to turn that up on 10. I got to really make them happy. They're walking through something. Yeah. Let me try to make them happy. And I just think it's natural, I think, to I think it's natural for some guys. Let me just say it that way.
Yeah.
For me, it was natural. It wasn't hard. It was simple.
Because most guys, it would have been hard. Because you got to think about it. You know, you mentioned early in the episode how attractive you were to me in the beginning of our relationship. And then I physically went through a change where I had rashes all over my face.
Yeah, but it wasn't from the physical though. Like
I was small. I had patchy hair.
But you can be physically attracted to someone and get to know them and become way more attracted to them then than you were at the initial hello, due to learning them, getting to know who they are, their personality, their characteristics.
So why do you think people say that men are physical creatures? Like you hear people say that all the time. Men are attracted to the physical more than women are, which I think is a lie. Because I know for me, physical matter to me. You gotta be cute.
But the reason why is because men have to initiate more than women.
Why you think that?
Because that's just part of society as a what we've created in the culture of dating and men and women is the men. I mean, honestly, if you really go back and look at it, a lot of even just other creatures in particular, like almost a peacock situation. And the women are, it's like you guys present it, we have to approach it, or, you know. So I think it's a more physical for us because we are the ones to initiate, start the process off. We are one to have to approach majority of the time. I mean, there are some women that will approach a man and say things to a man or flirt with a man. But most of the time, the men are usually the ones approached. And due to that, because of our culture of dating, men are usually, when we see it from the beginning, it's all physical. I can't see you from across the room and go, oh man, her personality looks amazing.
Yeah.
Man, she really looks like she knows what she's talking about in life. Like, wait, what? No, you don't. You just see a physical person that you find attractive physically.
Yeah.
And that creates the next steps to me going towards you to say, hello, how are you? What's your name? So in order to get to that part, we have to first find you physically attractive, or we have to see something physically. Yeah. Sometimes it's a rare occasion, but I have been attracted to a person across the room from what they're doing that creates a personality. Gotcha. Like they're acting goofy, dancing.
I would say personality is probably, now don't get me wrong,
smaller percentage.
I've seen some of your ex-girlfriends. You don't have a type. We always talk about it. I say you have a type, you say you don't. But neither here nor there. But you do like attractive physical women.
Yeah, you have to be physically attractive.
But I have seen you get turned off instantly if the personality just
within a second.
You are probably one of the people I know personality matters probably a little bit way more
than physical.
than the physical.
But thank you. Let's put that on record because a lot of people don't believe me. Personality matters more to me than physical.
And it's even with friendships. You would turn off.
Yeah, with friendships too. I don't really care.
You'll be like, you'll cut off somebody quick. So
I can walk up and say, hello, how you doing? And within 10 seconds, if it don't even seem like your personality is on point, I'm out of there.
Yeah, I've seen that from you. But I know a lot of men wouldn't have been able to stay faithful because I went through that for 2 years.
Right.
And so I think it's important that we talk about that more because that's a different level of a sacrificial love, an agape love, unconditional love when, and at times we weren't even seeing eye to eye.
Right.
And that's another thing, because I want to switch and we're going to talk about this divorce and how our goal has been since the day we decided to be healthy, not just co-parents for our beautiful daughter, but healthy friends.
Right. Because
being a product of divorced parents, your parents not being married, I know we know what it feels like to have that sometimes tension or sometimes that awkwardness and how it impacts the child.
Right.
And I think for us, one, we genuinely care about each other. We genuinely love each other. But we also want to make sure we foster an atmosphere for her to thrive.
Right.
Because divorce wasn't either one of our goals.
No.
I think at the time it was the healthier option. But it wasn't either one of our goals at all. But I just wanted to highlight that loving people well, even in difficult moments, not even just sickness. I think one thing that you taught me is that even when we'll be mad at each other, we had like a huge argument. And you know me, I'm just the most. So I might have to go somewhere. And your custom is to walk me to my car, especially at night.
Correct.
Especially before, we moved into a house when we were living in apartments. And so you would be like, I'm walking you to your car,
Care what we're going through.
You don't care when we argue. You go open my door. Like we just got done arguing.
I don't care.
And you be like, you go open my door, and I'd be like, might be getting in my feelings. Don't open my door. I don't need you to open. In my mind, that's what I would be thinking, or and you like, see, I'm still gonna open the door. I'm still gonna walk you down, And you taught me how to bounce back quicker. Because remember, I don't have no references for arguing or disagreements. And all I saw was violence. And so you taught me that you could have a conflict, a disagreement, and still come forward and show agape love and still honor the person in that moment. Which has been now I expect that now. And this is a standard, going forward. Like, yeah, when we are mad at each other, we still honor each other, though.
Correct. Absolutely.
That's not a moment to turn off your honor and then turn it back on. And I think that's why our relationship wasn't as toxic as a lot of other situations, because there was still honor in the midst of any disagreement, discord, even the divorce.
Right.
So now moving over to the divorce. So I know I've been transparent. What are some of the lessons that you feel like you learned, the things you would change from your perspective from the marriage, just going forward, or things you might have wanted to do differently?
Honestly, I think just communication. I think you can never just be a perfect communicator. So I think learning to be better in communication, patience is one of the things I also had to work on, and just, just grow. Making wiser decisions financially and business, and understanding strengths and weaknesses in a relationship, because that was always my key anyway. I'm not one of those guys that believe in roles. I hate when guys be like, oh man, my wife, her role is to clean and cook and well, I ain't gonna say I hate it. That works for them. And if it works for them, cool, right? It definitely doesn't work for me. It's about strength and weaknesses and exchanging strength and weaknesses. If cleaning up is my thing, then I clean up, right? If cooking is your thing, then we cook. You cook. If you don't feel like cooking that day, then I cook. I mean, I don't know. It's never one of those things. But also just more it's still dive deeper than that, right? If balancing the books and paying the bills and taking care of things financially is your strength, then that should have been what you do 100% of the time, right? If creating businesses or being the creator or the entrepreneur side as far as certain things is the other person's strength, then you let that person handle that. I think that's what the strength and weaknesses, exchange of strength and weaknesses come into place, and I think is extremely crucial that you do it, but do it humbly, because a lot of people are not humble with letting certain things go when they're not good at it, because in their mind they tell themselves they're good at something, and it's okay to be like, that's not my strength. Let me let that go and let this person in the relationship handle that. But yeah, and I think also when we speak of strength and weaknesses, going back to the moment when you were sick, I felt like at this moment, it's almost like, as a man, what do you do if you're a woman on the side of the road? You go change a tire, fix a flat, whatever you need to go do. You go help her when she's in need. So I felt that these are things I felt that men have to start doing, is understanding that, pay attention to when your woman is in need more. And I felt like that's what it was called for at that time. I just want to kind of reiterate and go back and speak on that a little bit more. But yeah, it's just a lot of things. I think it's more of a lot of little things. Just being more prepared for marriage. I think was probably my biggest one.
Too.
Because I didn't know. Like, I mean, let's keep it a buck, since we're going to keep it a buck. We got married with $7 to our name.
7.
Literally. Most people don't know that. Probably hardly anybody knows that.
We had enough.
We said I do with $7 total between the both of us. We said I do with $7 total to our name between the both of us. Like, now, some people say that's like, okay, and then some people say that's crazy, teach his own. Everybody has their own opinion about it. But for us, I just felt like there were things that we came in premature about. I think we should have been in better places financially, even though it did help us build a team thing more. I think that's what's so dope about us. When people see us in public, they was like, man, y'all just seem like y'all just so, and it wasn't a fake, it wasn't a facade, it wasn't like, yeah, of course, it was never like we put on in front of people. No, that's my dog. Like in person, we was the team. We like that now. We still Team Bobo because we have a daughter, an amazing little girl, and still Team Bobo. But I think that is one of the things that I think a lot of people don't implement. And for me, learning how to be a husband, I knew how to be a friend.
You're a great friend.
We had a phenomenal friendship. We still have a phenomenal friendship. I knew how to be a friend. I never knew how to be a husband. I never knew how to be, I'm learning how to be a father. So I think those things come with trial and error. Unfortunately, we had errors that didn't allow us to stay, but we learned from them.
Yeah.
And what's so crazy about this is that we're not too long ago divorced, and we learned from them like that. We seen it immediately because we would have conversations within our marriage. We would have conversations where we would look at each other and go, "Hey, you're not mad. You're not happy, are you? You know, like these are some things. All right, let's talk about this. I can probably do better in this, right? I dropped the ball in this, right? Like that's how we would talk, and people don't understand how crucial that is trying to learn as you grow, and learning, because everything is, like I said, trial and error. And you learning as we go. Because I didn't have an example of marriage. I didn't have it. Let me say this, of a really healthy marriage. Let me really break that down.
Yeah.
Being in front of true healthy marriages help guide you. Doesn't mean you have to be like them. Doesn't mean you have to do the things they say do. But seeing that examples and seeing things that are healthy is crucial.
Especially healthy communication.
Correct.
And navigating healthily through conflict, because conflict is inevitable.
Right.
It's normal. I get that now. I didn't know, I always avoided it and thought I could avoid it for the rest of my life. But you are such a confront something head-on person that you forced me to confront things that I wanted to just sweep under the rug. Right. Even if it was small, you like, no. Why you think that way? Why you think that? Let's talk about that. And I'm like, why you want to talk about everything? Like, let's just let it go and let's go watch TV and hold hands. Right. Kumbaya, right? And I was creating a lot of negative peace. And I learned from my training at the King Center that negative peace is where, everything seems cool. Y'all ain't fighting, y'all ain't throwing and cussing each other out, but there's still tension there. And so that's why we promote positive peace. Whereas, positive peace is where you are making sure that love and reconciliation is present and justice is present so that there is no tension, and there's friendship and understanding. Right. And that's what you were trying to get with me, was that friendship and understanding. And I think over time, I learned to talk through things, whereas first it was just, I would explode in tears. You laugh because it was just like, why did we have to talk about this?
Still as I say, I'm like,
yeah, because
what is going on right now?
But you didn't know how deep my domestic violence trauma was.
Right.
And I didn't either, because I'm thinking, I don't hit people, I don't cuss people out. He don't hit me, he don't cuss me out. I don't have that. But I didn't know how much residue from my past was there, and those conversations kept triggering it.
Right.
And it was sending me into fight or flight, because I'm like, I don't know, I'm on guard, because I'm like, what if he just may haul off and hit me? Or what if he just may haul off and just, degrade me verbally and call me all these things, and just, I love this person. The fear.
Fear is the key word.
But you, and it makes sense on why I had it, because of all that I endured for so many years as a kid. Right. However, now that God is healing and unraveling and uprooting some of those things, and, I'm going to do an episode with my mom, and just how me and her having those transparent conversations has helped me, and God just touching things and removing things. Now I know, okay. And now I'm knowing how to navigate through conflict, but I didn't know, Right. And so you learned
to seeing it, and I was able to navigate through it a lot.
You understood conflict better than me. I don't think you understand the marriage element. And I had here's the thing, we had different elements that we brought in.
We did.
Like, I brought in some of the traditional marriage elements, because that's what I saw in my family.
Right.
From other couples, even outside of my mom, you know, like, okay, house, my granddad is the provider, my grandma, she cooks clean. To this day, they've been married 50 plus years. Literally, I think my grandparents were married like 53 years.
Even your granddad went down on me. He went in on me, went down. It's like brought me down. It's like, hey, you know, just because he wanted me to be a traditional provider, he didn't understand why I wasn't a traditional provider. That's how deep that went. It went to the point where I'm literally sitting in front of your grandfather on his couch. And he's literally having about being a traditional provider. When that just, you know what I mean? It was like,
and I think we were like maybe a year in.
No, I think we were about two.
No, it was a year.
Was it?
Yeah, we were leaving Spring Lake.
That was crucial.
That was it. Yeah, that's we really being transparent.
Oh, it's all good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we've had some moments where we both were challenged to be different or to grow and things we didn't know. And so let's talk about this healthy space now. Now we're here. We made a decision to divorce. I think you are healthier.
Vice versa, I do too. I think you're healthier too.
I think I'm getting my personality back a little bit, you know.
You definitely are. Absolutely.
You know, I think I'm healing. I think you're healing. You know, you lost some weight. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely lost some weight.
You know, when you unhappy and unhealthy for so long.
That was that COVID weight though. That was that.
That didn't help. That didn't help.
I wasn't exercising. I wasn't doing nothing. You know, just as far as active wise.
And you weren't out of shape. You know, I liked it. I was like, you like, no, see. But I think you didn't like it.
No.
You weren't happy with you. And I think there were some things about me, because we never made each other feel bad about anything we were going through physically. But I wasn't happy with some things about me, not just, of course, my hair, the physical things, but even just emotionally, I just wasn't confident. And I think we landed at a place where it was healthier to separate and to heal. We thought healing separately was going to be better for us because those triggers could stop happening enough so that, you know, because it was never our intent to trigger anything. And as we've been healing, I've seen God move in both of our lives. And I'm grateful for that. And I know in the Christian space, and I know you're a Christian as well, but then, you know, me being from that place where people talk and have a lot of opinions, you were never in an opinion space of Christianity. You just believe in Jesus and love him and so on and so forth. But in the Christian space, you know, people would say like, church space, religious space, that's how I'm gonna do it, not Christian. But in the religious space, people would say like, God is ashamed of you because you got a divorce. And I think for us, and for a lot of couples, I feel like God was in the divorce.
Absolutely.
We had peace. And I'm not saying that divorce is God's ultimate intent, because I believe marriage is beautiful. I believe God created marriage. And we both wanted our covenant to last.
Correct.
However, in this world, you're going to have trials and tribulations. Things are going to happen. Trauma sometimes happen. And I think in our instance, it was just healthier to separate romantically.
I think God, to me, my opinion, I think God, to me, is almost like when you look at clay. Right. And I think what happens is you can start out making a bowl on the clay and the pottery or whatever the case may be. You start out making a bowl and then you just shift it to a vase. And I think what happened with us, I think God just said, I'm just going to take their relationship and just mold it differently. You know what I mean? I don't think we didn't lose anything. You know what I mean? A lot of people look at divorce as such a bad thing. Sometimes it's about how, like I said, it goes back to the beginning of what we started talking about. It's how you handle it and what you take from it and how you move afterwards. To me, that defines that word divorce, right? Because you can handle it real bad, you can be toxic about it, you can, and how you move on from it can be toxic, and that the word divorce to you can be really bad. But for us, I felt like he just is molding us anyway, and he just remolded our relationship. Because we still have a solid, strong relationship, phenomenal friendship, from the day one or from hello to what we have now. We didn't lose no friendship. We didn't lose any respect for each other. We didn't lose any love for each other. We still honor each other the exact same. Only thing he did is shifted our relationship. He changed it.
Dynamics.
So we went from being friends in our relationship for 3 years or 4 years or however long, to lovers, to friends. He's just molding it, but the relationship is still, and parents now.
Yeah.
He's just molding it differently, but the relationship is still there. The friendship is still there. The honor and respect is still there.
Yeah.
And that would never change.
And I think the reason why it's still there is because neither one of us settled on not doing the work, the inner work to heal.
Correct.
I think I can see how a woman, and I really want to talk about this because I've been seeing some things online and just in life. I can see how a woman or a man can use their hurt as a stepping stone to hurt the other person. And see, when you get into that game, the enemy gonna have a field day, because now it's like, I'm divorced, so let me show him how much he shouldn't have left me, or I shouldn't have left him, or he lost out, or whatever this thing is, and like, let me prove my worth. It goes back to validation, because that's what it really is. It's like, you're trying to prove. It's just like when you were with your girls, the first thing they say when they say he moved on, he got somebody else. Oh, girl, how she look? I bet you look better than her. Right. Or vice versa, man.
That shouldn't even be a thought.
You know what I'm saying?
Be the first thing that comes to your mind.
Man, then you go, yeah. So it's like this whole trying to have one up on the person versus looking at it. I remember when we were going through our divorce, and it was painful for me emotionally because I loved you. You know what I'm saying? In love with you in that way, so deep. I still love you. I love you forever. But just I was in such a deep love with you that I couldn't that tie was hard for me emotionally. Right. But at the same time, I knew if I say I love somebody this much, how can I now become their enemy and wish so much harm on them?
Correct. I always say that to people. When people ask me a lot of times, it's like, how are y'all friends and how are y'all still getting along? And I'm like, I think when you truly love somebody, right? Like it's a difference, like I said, when we talk about just throwing the word around, but when you love somebody, all you care about is their happiness.
Yeah.
So if me not being with you and you being healed and happy is what me separating myself from you gives you, and that in result makes you happy, then that's what you're supposed to do. I think me being with you doesn't make you happy, but because I want it and want to be with you, so I'm just going to be here or try to force it to be here. That's more selfish than it is loving somebody. Yeah, selfish is what you want out of it more than what they need from it. It's about what they need. If they're not happy, they need to be happy. And what consists of them being happy is y'all not being together no more. Then that's what matters the most. I remember making that decision very clearly in my mind. When I got to a peaceful place about it, was instant when I looked at my daughter and how your little girl looks at you, or our little girl looks at you, and she was sitting there and you was holding her, and I seen your face not being happy. It just didn't look happy. And I'm like, if I really love this woman, and I know I love my daughter more than anything in this world, and I know that I don't want her to ever grow up seeing her mom not happy. And if I'm just like, oh, well, I'm going to be there, I'm going to be in their lives, like me trying to be here doesn't make her happy, I'm not actually doing what it takes. Well, let me rewind it. Truly loving somebody and watching my little girl face was my real, like, I got it. I'm doing this not just for my wife at this time. Now I'm doing this for my daughter. I now have to remove myself because she has to be happy. And my little girl have to see her happy. That's a must for me. And if I truly love her, I'm going to make sure she get that. And if I have to remove myself, that's fine. Because if I don't want to remove myself, that's just being selfish. That's not really love. So I felt that's when I got okay with it. That's when I was just like, I'm good. I'm at peace with it. Because, and seeing you now, in general, just seeing how you've, from that day, that conversation to today, give me all this was what, you know what I mean? This is what was supposed to happen. Because I love this woman too much to not be able to make her happy. as well as not me being here doesn't impact her happiness at this moment.
Yeah.
And so, and I need my daughter to be able to be in this house with you and see her mom at pure joy. That matters more than anything. Is my daughter seeing her mom at pure joy, even if that's with another guy, if that's with another husband, if that's what it takes to get to her being truly happy. And if you love her enough, that's what you're gonna do. It's not about you, it's about them. And so that was the ultimate goal for me. And once I made that decision, I was at peace and at a complete, understanding of it all. And I think that's what got to that point, honestly.
Wow. Yeah, man. I think people ask me all the time, why didn't y'all stay? Y'all just had a baby. And I think I always flip it. I say, I think she gave us the courage to leave.
Absolutely. She did.
We had our issues prior to having her. Ari was a surprise, but she was a pleasant surprise because, I talk about it in my book. We miscarried in 2019 and we were trying to have a baby at that time and we didn't know how sick I was. We thought I was just dealing with alopecia only, not knowing that alopecia was being triggered from autoimmune. They were trying to, diagnosing me with lupus, and they were saying, remember they put me on that medication, I had to sign that waiver. Yeah, I couldn't try to conceive. So we were trying not to conceive.
They even said if you would conceive, it could be harmful to you and the baby.
And you were like, see, I'd rather not have kids than lose my wife. And Facts. I remember you telling me that we stopped trying. We thought we stopped trying. We were still active, of course, we were married.
And South Carolina.
Yep. And then one day, I don't know what you did, but
hello.
You wouldn't discover that you had been previously.
Right.
And so we
say hello.
So we end up getting pregnant in the middle of me still walking out my healing, but we were on the better side of it.
Right.
And thank God, through that pregnancy, we just saw God begin to restore not only my body. Ari was healthy. God just did a complete miracle.
That little girl is a shero, bro. I'm trying to tell you. She's a complete hero, for real.
Listen,
in so many ways.
It's so many ways. And God really showed forth his grace on our life and redemption from what we had, just the pain of going through that miscarriage in 2019. Because we both were so excited. You went to the doctors with me. We were just excited. And so I just want to say, at this time, to people that may be going through a divorce, heal. Know that God loves you. Know that you are not a disappointment to God. Know that he can still use you. Know that your life is valuable. Unfortunately, it happened. Divorce is not ideal. Don and I will both tell you we both believe in marriage. We both want to get married again one day.
Absolutely.
But it's going to take time. It's for me to heal, for sure. And to continue to learn more about myself. I think I've done a lot of great healing. But I think it's pivotal too, before you get married, have those tough conversations.
Yeah.
Take your time based on your pace. I think something that you said is a great takeaway is learn your person. What you may have learned that works in marriage, or what you might have saw on Instagram or TikTok, may not work in your marriage.
Facts.
Learn your person.
Yeah.
Also, your happiness is your responsibility. It's not that other person's responsibility. However, as a spouse, I do believe it is important that you contribute to their happiness. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's all about me. No. I want to contribute to your happiness, but ultimately it's not my responsibility and it's not your responsibility. But let me come to the table and learn how I can contribute and add value to you. You don't want to be with anybody that's not adding anything to you, So there's a lot of things you could take away, but one thing that we're committed to doing is having conversations, even when we disagree. We're not always going to want to parent the same way.
Right.
I'm probably more laid back and softer, but no, because you are too, but it's just different things we may not always agree on.
Correct.
But let's talk through it. Now I feel like I have those tools where we could talk through even how we want to raise our daughter without going at each other. And another thing, women, stop using the child as a way to hurt the man. We gotta stop doing that because it's like, I want her on my side, but you're robbing her of a God-given gift in fatherhood. My daughter needs her father. This is not a moment for me to be selfish, to now try to hoard my daughter away from her father, when God created fatherhood to have a very pivotal role in children's lives. So you figure out what's your weaknesses and strengths as parents. Don is an amazing a farmer. I can't even get the word out. He affirms Ari very well. He spends amazing quality time with Ari. Whenever she needs something, he asks me like, what she needs. He's very hands-on and attentive. It would be very selfish of me to rob him of that space with his daughter. I think as women, we gotta stop doing that. We gotta stop using our kids as leverage because we're mad that the relationship didn't work out, that now I gotta use that as bait to get back at you.
Right.
And vice versa, men too. But I had to say that because I see that a lot, and we have to stop doing that.
And I wanna jump in real quick on that one. I remember it being it was crucial for me because of what I seen coming up with the things that my brother went through with the mother of his kids. And I think because you were in that as well, indulged and seeing the things too, you knew how important it was to me to not walk through those things. Yeah. And I remember you kept telling me, like, I promise you, if we ever have kids, I would never do these certain things to you, and I would never keep my child away from you, and so on. Our child, away from you. And it was just certain things you were always just like, you watched and remembered how critical it was for my brother and people that I've seen go through certain things.
In my life.
And in your life, but you made it very clear, like, I would never do these things. And I just want to say thank you for always honoring your words. You've always, if you said you're just going to do something, or you said you're just going to be a certain way about certain things, you've always honored that. And thank you, because my daughter, obviously, means the absolute world to me. And knowing that I have the most amazing mother of my daughter, and knowing I have that kind of relationship that I know I don't ever have to worry about that happening, is one of the most peaceful, loving situations you can ever have. Now, to speak to the men in that same scenario, men, we have to do better at making sure we're fathers to our kids. Regardless, I know sometimes that the courts and the system doesn't really favor us in a lot of scenarios. Majority of the time, it's kind of against us a little bit as well. So we're not only fighting the system, we're also fighting the women that choose to use their children as tools or weapons to retaliate. I know it's a tough fight on both sides, but fellas, we have to do better at being fathers to our kids. We also got to do better at being men to the mother of our children. And what I mean by that is, just because y'all are no longer together, she still is the mother of your child. And you have to be better at understanding that whatever happens with her happens to your child, because that's the home or the household that she's in. So it's extremely important that we care more, not only just about our child, but also the household and the relationship of the household. So sometimes we have to do better at trying to be more understanding of the situation, because I don't think a lot of men understand what women go through. And I was able to be fortunate enough to see it hands-on. I watched my daughter be conceived all the way to the day she came out, with my hands trying to catch my daughter come out. You understand? With blood. Like, I'm hands-on. I was there through the whole process. So I was fortunate enough to see the things that women go through. And it's crucial, men, for us to understand that. And then also now to see her as a single mom is hard just as much as having the baby. It's tough. We have to be better at understanding that we need to be more prominent in their lives and making sure that they're not by themselves trying to raise children. That's just completely unfair. And real men just won't do that, period, at the end of the day. Now, I know it can be tough due to a lot of scenarios or situations that we just previously spoke about. But as a man, that's what you got to do. This is for your children. You have to try to make a better relationship. You have to try to be more prominent in their lives and be better men for that household. It just has to be better. And I challenge men to be better. That just has to. Going forward as a culture, we got to do better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to leave it on this note right here, because that was powerful. Thank you for saying that, and thank you for being that. Like, even now, I'm an entrepreneur. I work from home a lot sometimes, and you would be like, hey, see, if you just need me to come over and watch it for a couple hours while you take a nap, or boom, 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 because she primarily lives with me, and you have been doing that. So I want to say thank you so much for just being hands-on in that way. You're an amazing father, and Ari's really blessed to have you.
Thank you.
But I also want to say another thing, just to leave this on this note. As we move on to other relationships, he's a great looking guy. He's a great person. You have one of the dopest hearts I know. That's why even through the divorce, I wouldn't let people speak ill on you.
Vice versa.
You know what I'm saying? We can point out each other's flaws. We know each other's flaws pretty well. Like, yeah, he did that wrong. However, I know him to the core, and that's a great dude. And I know you feel the same about me. And I think as you move on and people move on to other relationships, don't be a hindrance to what God is trying to take them to next out of your own fear of what you might miss out on. No, I want to see him in a healthy relationship with an amazing, beautiful woman that's going to now become a part of Ari's village.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
And vice versa.
So I'm not going to hinder that. That's why boundaries are important. You know, I don't show up to his house without calling, or he don't show up to my house without calling, and vice versa. We have these things in place that we still honor each other so that there is room for him to move forward one day, me to move forward one day. But don't become so like just a hindrance, just a burden,
selfish.
Selfish, because you just, again, it's your fears, insecurities, childhood traumas, rejection, abandonment, all these other things that's being triggered that's causing you to want to care so much that you are trying to block something that God is trying to do. And I want to leave at this point. When we first decided to get the divorce, God challenged me to honor you not only as my friend, the father of our daughter, and my ex, but also as my brother in Christ.
That's right.
You're still a child of God.
Right.
God loves you just as much as he loves me, even though we be thinking God don't love you because I ain't together no more. No, God loves you just as much as he loves me. He cares about your well-being just as much as he cares about mine. The way I treat you is still unto him.
Right.
Ultimately.
Absolutely.
You're my brother in Christ first. Before anything else, you're a child of God. And then all those other relationships. So how we steward each other matters to God. So I challenge you to heal, do the work,
right.
Go to therapy if you need to. I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for years now. It's been a blessing to my life, helping me unpack things and grow in areas. But do what you need to do to develop a healthy relationship so that you could co-parent well. Right. And that child is not feeling like she's having to choose between which side of the family. No, both families matter. Both parents matter.
Right.
Surround that baby around love.
That's right. Also, fellas, I'm sorry to jump in.
No, it's good.
What you just said was so critical. And I have to say this to men. I know we bouncing on this a little bit back and forth. Fellas, it's okay to go seek therapy. It's okay to sit down and talk to somebody. Matter of fact, ladies, that should be the new sexy for y'all. And when you meet a man that goes to therapy, that mind seeing therapy, trying to get himself together emotionally, mentally, that is extremely important for us fellas. I think sometimes we get to this whole road of, I gotta be tough, I gotta be real, no, what you gotta be is better. You gotta be healed, brother. You gotta be more for your kids, for your significant other, for your family. It's okay. We went through a lot of stuff to become grown men. So it's time for us to start seeking counseling, help, talking to people. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have feelings. Fellas, we got to be better. We still men. We still human beings. And so I think we just got to learn how to navigate in life a little better without having to worry about fitting in a certain expectation of people. I think seeking healing and growth is more important than anything. So fellas, go get some counseling, period. Yeah.
Listen, a healthy individual, a healthy man, and a healthy woman will make healthy relationships.
That's right.
And healthy dad and a healthy mom will make healthy parents. And so as a culture, we're trying to push our culture forward. We know all the trauma that we had and we picked up from slavery and all that, Jim Crow. The stuff we picked up, we understand why we got toxic as a culture. But now it's time to move forward.
That's right.
And so the more I'm healthy as a woman, the more he's healthy as a man, the more healthy we can create relationships, and we can lower the divorce rate, as well as be amazing parents and heal some of this childhood trauma that perpetuates into our adulthood. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you so much for coming.
Come on now. Come on now, you know
Listen,
what it is.
I appreciate you for real, for doing this for me. we pray that something in this episode blessed you, helped you, affirmed something, corrected something, challenged you. But this is Fly Inside Out. We're going to continue to curate more conversations that help you to heal, to love, and to fly. And, our next episode is going to be amazing too. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you're definitely following us on all social media platforms, Fly Inside Out. And make sure you go pre-order the book at flyinsideout.com. Bouncing back from the 4 Ds, of course, which are divorce, disease, death, and depression. So thank you so much for tuning in. We love you guys. Peace out.